What's up, everybody? Sean here with another Live to Roll Live. This episode, we're going to be talking about regaining independence and getting back to life after your injury. So we got Tom's going to be joining us a little later, but we got our usual co-host Bobby here. So and our special guest Ken this week. So as you guys know, my name's Sean, C5, C6 quadriplegic from a snowboarding accident. Bobby, you want to give a quick intro?
Sure. Bobby Rohan hurt in 1989. I'm actually going to be turning 32 on Saturday. So 32 years hurt, C56, from hitting a back of a parked bus when a car ran me off the road on my bicycle. And it's been smooth sailing ever since with little bumps along the road here and there. So can't say it's all been sunshine, but you know how the quad life goes. Let's move it over to our guest, Ken from Sacramento.
Ken Womack, C5, C6, incomplete. Bicycling accident also. Just out on the streets, jumping big curbs and hit my back tire and landed on my head in the alley and broke my neck. Been injured since I was 19. So that's 26 years. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't actually realize you were as long. You got some veteran years under you, Ken. Damn, all right. So we got some pretty good years of experience on our panel here and this is going to be pretty much one of our quadcasts because we got the quad crew talking about regaining independence, and I mean that's for everybody with every level of disability. Obviously, he's going to have to worry about that. But being a quad, there's a few extra things you got to figure out as well.
Right. So, just a few.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, we're gonna get into all that kind of stuff. So one of the things I wanted to mention was just was like how hard it was to get back for each of us after our injury, and how long that sort of took for you to like kind of figure out a path and get back on it. I can start real quick. So for me, I initially, to be honest, kind of like didn't do a lot for myself in the beginning. I kind of sat around and chilled and didn't really want to do a lot the first year out of rehab. Not that I didn't want to do a lot. I was just hanging out with my brothers and friends. I was doing rehab, but I wasn't really pushing myself. It wasn't until like a year after out of rehab until I really kind of like something triggered to where like I realized I wanted more independence. I wanted more freedom. I wanted to be able to go out with my friends, come back whenever I wanted, and not worry about having to wake up my dad or something to help me get into bed. So that was my big like wake up call. And from that point on, I really just started, striving towards that and trying to work out, get stronger, and really just trying to push myself to do things for myself. So like that was kind of my path in the beginning. And what about you guys? Bobby, how did you were you always just like ready to go on the path of independence?
So why don't we move to Ken? I got my dog barking with somebody outside. Let's go to Ken.
Ken, go for it.
So yeah, when I first got injured, I was living with my grandparents, and I was not wanting to get taken care of by my grandparents, and I was a partier. So I had friends always coming over. They wanted to take me out of the house, and my grandmother was like, no, you're not taking him nowhere. You know what I mean? And so I definitely wanted my independence. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I got a hold of a place in San Jose, the AIDC, the Adult Independent Living Center. I don't know what it is now. I think they changed that by now. But after about 2 years of living with my grandparents, I had a girlfriend at the time, but I lasted about the 2 years. I moved to San Jose by myself and went to this program. They taught me They taught me to hire fire attendants and bills. I had to go back to school, started college and stuff like that. Cooking classes. I went through cooking classes. Laundry. Had to get outreach to take me from places to go shopping. Go ask the people at the shopping centers, hey, can you help me? Push my cart and get my food. And So I went through that program for a whole year, and I was like the only. There was two other kids that were in because I was 19. Oh, I was like 20, 21, and there was two other kids that were in the program too, and they didn't make it. I was the only one that made it out of that household. They just couldn't do it. There was a lot of pressure on them to be independent, and they just wanted to go back home. So I graduated out of there, and I lived in San Jose for a year on my own, and then ended up coming back to hometown, and been pushing hard to stay independent. That's
That's pretty
how
cool,
I
dude.
started.
I didn't actually know they had like things quite like that, like an actual, like almost school type of like
Yeah,
thing.
it was a long. It was a whole year of going through all kinds of like you know classes and a lot of like I didn't think I was gonna make it just because of who I am. I wasn't like a person to I didn't like school. I didn't like to you know listen to other people. But after my injury, it was pretty much I had to. That's what I had to do, or else I'm gonna have to go live with my grandparents. And yeah, I wasn't gonna do that again. Yeah, I love my grandparents. I mean, they were there for me every like 90 days I was in a hospital. They were there. They were my support. So I appreciate everything they've done for me. But definitely needed my independence.
Yeah, especially at that age, because I was the same. I got hurt at 21. Whoops, wrong one there. I got hurt at 21, and it was the same type of thing for me. Like I really I like to party a little bit. I
Yep.
was young and just wanted more time with my friends and that independence. But yeah, that's pretty cool that you actually were able to do that, like little camp type of thing, school. um,
Yeah.
Bobby, you want to throw in some of your experience?
Yeah, I had a little bit of a different route. Being an All-American athlete, when I got hurt, 17, luckily they weren't going to make me go finish my last year of high school and kind of got a pass on that. Spent 6 months in rehab. And as soon as I got out, it had to be some kind of, program where it was going to be, in a sense, ball to the walls of getting my independence back. And I could barely move my arms. I couldn't transfer. I couldn't push my chair. Even though when I got a rehab, I said, you're not ordering me a power chair. I need to have a manual chair. And I couldn't push it. And luckily, a good friend of mine, to this day, found, two places. And one was Craig Hospital, and the other one was called the Walker Institute. It was in Pacific Palisades. And when I looked at both brochures, looked at it, and I said, Craig Hospital looks like just like rehab. I did that. And then,
She in there?
no. Um, so I chose the Walker Institute, which was 5 days a week, 8 hours a day of just intense, different kind of rehab, or I would say more, they had physical therapy, but you're working with a trainer throughout the whole day. And then you would go see a PT for an hour, and then you go see an OT for an hour. Then you do mat activities, and then weight workout, and then standing frame, and then go outside trying to push your chair, get some rec therapy. And it was just 8 hours a day. And I would go there every day. It was like a 45-minute drive over the canyon of Topanga Canyon. Sean, you know that place. So
Yep.
windy road to get to Pacific Palisades every day. But I did that for a year. And I would say, like, by the time all that was done, I was pushing my wheelchair independently. I was driving. I was transferring to like my bed and my couch on my own. So I always say everything took me 2 years. And it was because I had that background of, just being driven of, kind of like the sports athletic mind and being trained and just working on the weights and doing as much as I can to gain that independence. And it wasn't until when I hit my like 25 to 30 is when I started like, okay, let's loosen up. I've gone through school. I have a great job. I met some good friends. Now let's go have some fun. And my friends were a little bit older, so they were traveling, and going to New Orleans and everywhere. So that's when I decided to let loose finally, and it took like 7 years after my accident.
Yeah, well, you were younger too. So being 17, I mean, you were still kind of technically underage, and you did have that athletic background. You were the triathlete, just really hardcore athlete. See, I
Yeah, and
had,
I know in our chat, Mickey was asking, did I ever go back and finish high school?
yeah, I was gonna,
Just just GED. I just took that, uh, and then I went to community college for 2 years. And believe it or not, I had a scholarship, athletic scholarship to USC, and just I never started. I was ready to start call or USC. I went to this dinner, and I was asking everybody, what is it like to graduate from USC? You must have a killer job. And everybody at that dinner was like, no, I don't have a job yet. I'm still looking. And I'm like, you're still looking? You have a USC, diploma. Come on. And they're like, yeah, it's harder than you think. And I'm like, at that time for me, I was making $45,000 a year selling wheelchairs. And I was like, I have a good job. Why am I going to go to school and torture myself? Because I wasn't a good, I wasn't good at my academics. So I continued the working route.
right on. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's kind of what we want to talk about too today is getting back to life and, whatever that is for you, like school, work, or whatever. So Ken, did you ever end up going back to school or doing anything like that? You said, like, did you go to
Yeah,
college?
well, I did for general ed, and that was about it. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, especially now that was in a chair. I didn't know what direction at that point. So I haven't thought about going back right now.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering if you did initially at all or anything. I did after my accident because I was 21 when I got hurt, so I was going to a junior college, Moore Park College, out where I was living with my dad. And I did once I kind of got a little bit of independence and started driving, like a couple years after my injury. I went back and tried to take some classes and stuff. And it was cool. It was good to get back to school. I did not ever complete a degree, which I I should try to go back to do at some point maybe. But it's good. It's just good to get back to life. So even without getting like fully doing what I should have done by getting a degree, it was really good for me to be out there, like meeting and hanging out with people like around my age,
Yeah.
being able to just have a social life and be just kind of part of the world again. Because after a couple, like I really did kind of like hibernate in my room for that first year, so like I didn't push myself very much, which I regret now. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, what else? Let me see what else we got here going.
So let me ask you this, Sean.
Uh,
After your accident, what was the hardest thing that you had to deal with? And, in your transition, was it, you were it sounds like we're all young, obviously, and so in my opinion, being younger is a little bit easier than being someone 45 and, have this, midlife almost part of your career and family. So sometimes it's hard when you have everything set up, where for us, it was a little bit easier being young. So, I mean, what was it like and what was the hardest part for you as a young person being hurt?
For me, I think one of the hardest parts, well, initially, I really just didn't have that motivation or drive. Like, I really was kind of just unsure at what life was going to be initially, But I did have you around and other people like you that like kind of slowly started poking me and getting me to like see like, okay, you know what, there's a life. And then Mike DeYoung is another, I've mentioned him several times. You and Mike DeYoung were really big influences in my life in the beginning. You gave me the first kick, and then Mike kind of like pushed me over the edge. Like they gave me the little extra kick that I needed. And like really that was the motivation was the hardest part for me. So once I figured out that in my head, like I figured out like independence was going to lead to freedom, which is going to lead to being happier, which is going to lead to just more of just availability of like all kinds of stuff in my life. Like, um, I just wanted to get like back to like after that year of sitting in my room, I really was motivated to just live life again. So honestly, that was the hardest part, and then really just the initial that first year of like trying to figure out the little things, all the little things of how to do this and how to do that was pretty frustrating and really hard. And that's one thing I tell people all the time now is, and I wish I would have done a little bit better at this, is just take baby steps, like make very small goals for yourself in the beginning. Because that like independence isn't easy. It doesn't come easy. It's not going to come fast. It's not going to come without a lot of work. And so that was what, just once I've kind of learned that and figured that out mentally, that was my biggest hurdle, was just a mental hurdle, because honestly, I just being unmotivated was just, it got me nowhere. So like, yeah, that's, I don't know. For me, I don't remember a specific task being specifically hard. It was just like that initial getting like past my mental hangups and kind of pushing myself into more, I guess, was really that because I think that's really the hardest part for most of us, is just the mental part of it. And I don't know if you guys did anything special or anything like that to help you get over that too, but
How about you, Ken? The hardest part to get over through?
Well, the hardest part, the transition, is probably the tenants, finding someone, to help out. That was probably my hardest thing. Other than that, like, I didn't really have anything. That was all a learning experience for me. Like, I enjoyed, learning of what I can do and all that. Like when I first got injured, people would come in chairs and come to talk to me, and they're like, oh, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you have any questions? I'm like, well, yeah. How fast can you go in your chair? Can you go downstairs? Can you do wheelies? I mean, I was just all about like, what can I do? What else? What fun can I do? I mean, I don't know. It just, but the hardest thing was probably just the attendant part of it. Other than that, I didn't really have anything too hard. It was just learning. Learning that was a lot easier than like book learning, like in school and stuff like that. Like I couldn't learn that, but being in a chair, I can just, this is something I can do. I know I can do it. I can learn everything I can. So that's, for me, that was about the hardest thing, was finding the tenants and trusting, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, finding a good caregiver is difficult sometimes, for sure. And another thing, just a small tip on that note, is if you have a bad caregiver, don't be afraid to try to find somebody new. Like, don't get stuck with somebody that's not helping you.
Don't just deal with it. Just keep searching on the outside.
I've had quite a few, man. It's, like I said, it's hard to trust somebody. Yeah.
So Bobby, then what was the most difficult thing for you then in the beginning?
I was so motivated. I mean, that was the part of it, being young, because I was motivated for everything else, wanting to get back into sports. But I think it was, not walking across graduation or, 3 weeks. I think it was 3 weeks or something like that after my accident. I was supposed to go to prom. And then it was like at the beginning, I don't know if you experienced, all these friends are around you, and then kind of the longer you're in the hospital, they started moving on with life, and you can't move on with life. You have so much ahead of you. And then they were going off to college or in their senior class, and I wanted my last year of swimming, and I just had everything else in my mind. And then at 18, moving out of my parents' house and going to Colorado, and because I had plans to go ride for the U.S. cycling team, and when all those things were broken, it's pretty tough. And I think that's why I was driven so much to not necessarily say I need as much independence, but I need as much to get back into things. When somebody told me about quad rugby, I'm like, you tell me where and tell me when and how we do it. And that's how we formed the Northridge Knights. And they're, when Northridge Hospital said, well, we have some funding. And I said, let's do it. Tell me where to go find quads and I'll go find them. And I think our first year we had 20 quads because I was telling everybody, like, you got to help me play the sport. We got to get it started. I don't care. And I think once I got into something like that, it became easier. But it was sad to see a lot of friends. And back then it was hard. There wasn't Facebook. There wasn't cell phone. So it was hard to keep in touch with everybody. And but luckily still today I have my best friend. And, and I was blessed with great parents that, my dad was helping me as my caregiver. And in fact, when I did want to move out on my own, it was tough to say to them, I'm like, I need to move on. And they made a compromise and built a room on the back of their house for me. And in some ways I regret that because I wanted to move on. So I kind of put a part in the middle, said, okay, I'll stay here in the back of the house and find my caregiver. But, once I finally got my own house, that's when everything was like, oh, so much better. After 6 years, I was in my parents' house.
Yeah, right on, man. That definitely helps. I think just getting that initial independence and getting that freedom and like really, because like for me, it was very satisfying to do things independently. Sometimes now after years of doing it, it's tiring and hard and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to do this right now. But those first few times you do something on your own, it's pretty gratifying. Like it feels good, like it's like, yeah, like that feeling of satisfaction, accomplishment that you get. So yeah, I definitely understand that. Like, it's cool that you were able to do that. And I know the compromise probably wasn't what you were looking for at first, but hey, at least it was a little bit, it gave you a step. It was your baby step to the next one. And I wanted to also mention on that, the rugby thing. Rugby definitely for me too was a huge factor. Like once I started going to the rugby practices and meeting all the guys and seeing all the things they were doing, and like the rugby world is different. Like you make friends and stuff, and like the guys will like I'd be doing something or having somebody do something for me, and like somebody would like make fun of me for it. Like, what? Do that on your own, stupid. Like you don't need to have them do that. Like like your buddy would do. And it was like, but it was like, and it wasn't like a mean thing. It was just like to motivate you and like, yeah, like, and little things like that.
And I asked somebody for assistance with, my piss bag, and they're like, what? Are you crazy? What are you doing? Like, you can do that on your own. I'm like, yeah, but I can't twit. And they're like, well, you got the wrong leg bag. Come on. I'm like, what do I use? And then that's how I found out about a lot of stuff. It was just like, and then nowadays we're blessed with what we have right here, YouTube, and going on YouTube and finding out these shortcuts that we didn't have at the beginning. It's amazing. In fact, we have Mickey in the chat, and she never knew we had the shave my head video. I'm like, yeah, I know. I made a video for Sean to shave my head with a Bic razor, and she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. Well, if I never went on YouTube, I would have never learned how to do it on my own. So it's and now I know that it was kind of cool today. I'm like, oh wow, I have over 700 views. So at least people are checking it out and like, oh, I can do that on my own with no hand function and no fingers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what's great about them today, and the internet and YouTube and stuff is there's all this information. Yeah, back when you guys especially were first hurt, you just had to talk to somebody. There was no YouTube. And then even when I was first hurt, that I don't think it was around initially, but probably in the years after. But I don't think there was too many videos up initially 17 years ago.
No, not much. Not much. It was hard to find that one little thing. But let's let me ask you this, Ken. Was there like equipment? So we all talk about, for us, equipment makes things a lot easier. Not only the sports equipment, but that little fine motor thing that helped you picking something off the floor, or transferring or any type of, something to help you get dressed or turn on your side? Was there any adaptive equipment you were using?
At the beginning, I think the only thing, let's see, I use a sliding board at the beginning. I use the cuff for the feeding, the
Mhm.
fork or whatever, the fork cuff. But now I just use gloves, and I slide my fork in the glove, and just, or my spoon inside the glove finger.
Mhm.
I don't use a sliding board anymore. This is about the only thing, this right here. So I was in Walmart,
Hold on,
and I couldn't reach the gloves because oh, whoa, what happened?
I'm just putting you big. Don't worry about it. So you can
Okay.
show.
I'm like, whoa. So when I couldn't reach the gloves, they're up on top shelf, and I seen this thing. It's for picking up golf balls, and
Oh yeah.
I used this and reached up and got the gloves. I'm taking that thing home. So I got this, and this is about. I mean, I use this to reach stuff, but other than that, I don't really use too much besides my chair. But in the beginning, or not too much. I tried not to use too much because then I have to rely on it, and if I don't have it, then I'm kind of stuck without it.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I lost camera. I don't know what happened to it.
You're good. It just froze for a second, but you're kind of just slowing
No,
up, but
I
it's all
don't
good.
even have it up.
Oh.
We still got you though.
Okay, well, what do I click on to get back?
I don't know, man. I'm not sure. I think it just froze for a second, so it might have knocked you off. But
No, I don't
I,
even have like internet. I mean, like,
You're
technical
coming in
difficulties.
fine for us, Ted.
well, I know, but I don't
If
even have
if
like
you
the.
want, you can hang up and then try to call back, and I'll pop it back on right now. Me and Bobby will just talk for a second on
Wait, wait,
this.
wait. Oh wait, right here, live stream. I just click on that. I think. There we
There
are.
you go.
Okay,
I
cool.
clicked on
There you
Microsoft.
go.
All right, cool. So yeah, we're talking about the adaptive equipment.
Yeah.
Bobby, do you have any of the adaptive equipment that that you use?
Obviously I started with the feeding stuff. The first brace that they did for me was this big, almost looked like a Terminator, RoboCop kind of device where I'd flick my wrist back and it would lock, and I can put my pen and fork in there.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was big and it was bulky, so I was like, obviously, if I'm going to go out on a date, I'm not going to want to put that thing up. So I kept staring at people eating with their fork, and it's just like, and I saw somebody with a ring on their finger, and I wish I had one, but so they were eating almost like, let's see where.
Here, let me switch it real quick, Bobby. Sorry.
There we go.
Oh crap, that's not you.
Got too many views. But I was thinking of like, there's the fork, and I was thinking like a ring on top and a ring on bottom where I put my fingers in it, and then I can eat that way. And my dad worked at Budweiser at the time, so he went to the machine shop, and they put ring on two forks, and one on top and one on bottom. So I just stuck my finger in there, and that's how I used a fork and a spoon for a long time until one day you're out and about and you don't have it, and it's like, well, let me try to put it in, right in my hand. So that's kind of put it in my fingers and didn't have to rely on the rings. And then with writing, my writing style, I just kind of hold it and use my wrist. So it's pretty easy. My thumb just, it rests pretty well. I never used a sliding board just because it would always hurt my butt. Every time I was on it, I didn't have much of a butt at the time. So it felt like my bone was just digging on the board. So I was like, no, I can't use this. I did use like like a grab bar to turn myself at night when I lived on my own. I use one of those quad devices to button your shirts. So when I was working, I'd have to button my shirt on my own in the morning sometimes, or unbutton them. Then I just learned everything was with your teeth, and I think that was the most valuable part, using everything with your teeth, taking
Yeah.
off your teeth and kind of growing.
Yeah.
Or,
Yep,
just
that's how I do
oh,
it.
yeah.
That's
And then
exactly.
like I tried, those straps that you can put on the back of, your pants to kind of pull it up under your butt. So when you're trying to get yourself dressed and it took longer to get the straps ready than to just start doing it yourself and wiggling yourself in there. So
I
luckily
use
now I
my
don't.
I use my pockets and belt loops a lot. That's why. So like, if I'm wearing, which I don't wear often, jeans because jeans are pain and they slide off your butt like constantly and are hard. But I wear Dickie shorts for a few reasons. One, because they have a clasp in the front that just is no button. It's very easy. It's very quad friendly. Um, Two, they're fairly stiff and rigid, so they slide on transfers and don't bunch up. And three is because the pockets are right on the sides, like perfect on the sides. So adjusting your hips with the pockets is like
Nice.
really like really easy, and pulling them up.
Piece of cake.
So like I can get one side and then pull the other side, like, and I've just developed like, but other pants are harder for me to do. So like when I do have other stuff on, it can be difficult because I'm just so used to this setup. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my quad
I watched
tools.
your videos. I watched your videos, and we're pretty much the same. We get dressed about the same way, except I
Nice,
don't wear
yeah.
I wear sweats, and I make sure they're like a little bit on the smaller side so that I don't have to tie them, where they just kind of stay. So I just wear sweats all the time and cut them to shorts.
Oh, so yeah, no, I remember you wearing the sweat shorts actually. I remember from rugby
That's
tournaments and
all I
stuff.
wear all year round.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool, man. And those aren't difficult for you to get like without having like a zipper in the front, like they pull up and all, like whatever, like
Yeah, like I said,
and you can
I get them like more on the medium instead of larger,
right
so
on.
that when I pull them up, like they want to fall down uh, whenever some transferring, but I can lean back and pull them up. So yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Mickey,
Well, I had to
so
wear.
what if you have false teeth? If you're a quad, you are screwed.
yeah, pretty much.
Or
Don't
you
lose your
get,
That's
teeth.
true.
or you get them, you get those implants, or you glue them in really tough.
Yeah, you better get like the extra strength. I forget what that
Polygrip,
glue is called. The
polygrip.
yeah, yeah. Because yeah, that's definitely like that is a quad's biggest friend and tool, like your teeth. If
Yeah,
you don't have your teeth, oh man, you are so
at
screwed.
least your front ones, right?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. And I should, Mickey said, good reason to take care of your teeth, and I should go to the dentist a lot more often than I do. I'm sure of that, but
I know me. Yeah, me too. And I know, Mickey, it's a good reason to take good care of your teeth. And I should do better with going and get them cleaned and checked more. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Um, Oh yeah, and so for me, I guess I didn't really do the adaptive tools as much. So I also don't use a slide board. I never did. If you guys have seen my videos of my transfer, it's definitely a little bit different. I like a pivot on my elbow and kind of just it's just not really good for a slide board. It doesn't really work with the slide board. So that's one thing. But my biggest quad tool, besides my teeth and stuff, and I've mentioned this on a bunch of things before, are needle nose locking pliers, which I wish I would have brought out this time. But I use those for everything, like just standard locking pliers. You can get Home Depot, anywhere, Amazon. I actually ordered these ones from. Um, and that's what I use to change my catheter tube because I can clamp the catheter tube with it. It not only clamps it closed, but it gives me something big to hold on to and to like move around and then to be able to push down and like handle. So it gives me just a lot bigger, easier thing to hold on to than the little tiny catheter tube with my hands. So those are seriously one of the biggest. Like I use those now, not as much because I've actually switched all my chargers to these like magnetic chargers. It's like a little white
Oh,
magnet
nice.
thing, so like
How
it
are those?
just pops right on there. But before that, I used to use my pliers for that too. I just clamp the end of the the charger, be able to put it on because chargers are tiny and hard to hold too for quad
Wow,
hands. So that's
you just gave me
another.
a good idea. Because I on my RC cars, you have to plug the battery in, and it's really hard
Those
to
are
plug them
hard.
in and
Oh,
unplug them.
so hard.
Oh, it's so hard. So that's a good idea. I'm gonna have to use that.
Yeah, you can try some pliers. I never really did figure out the RC batteries because they were just like I was just too afraid to
Oh
get
yeah.
two pliers and like yank too hard on them. But if you can
Yeah.
figure something out, I'm sure you can work it out. And you have a little more strength, Ken, I think, so you can probably do it.
I I get the 2 wires and I like pull them apart. It's pretty brutal.
Um, hey Ken, we got a question for you. Dig the shirt. Where can someone get one? You ride it like
It was on Facebook actually. There was an ad on Facebook, and my friend's mom got it for me. Ride it like you stole it.
nice. So there you go. It was on Facebook. Hot Crip, you can try to find it. Hip Crip. Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this question. So, moving on and getting through some of the rougher times at the beginning, and now that a few of us have had, or all of us have had, a few years under our belt, what are things that you're moving on to that you thought you would never be doing? I'll start with you, Ken.
That I'm like, well,
Something
I
you
wish I would've-
never thought, when you first got hurt.
I wish I would have found rugby a lot sooner than I did. Like, I found rugby way too late. I was never a sports fan growing up, and so jumping into rugby was really hard mentally, not physically. I got it physically, but mentally it was just really, really hard to figure out. Transferring or not with all the rules and everything. It was just it was just really hard for me. But I'm getting it down now, so that's about the only thing I can think of. Rugby was really hard.
Yeah, you probably like that's the same thing for me. I definitely didn't think I'd be playing competitive sports or doing anything like water skiing or doing anything like that, going snow skiing. That was the farthest thing from my mind. Like I mean, in my mind, yeah, I was a snowboarder. I got hurt snowboarding. I was like an extreme athlete. Like that was in my mind. Like I want to get back on the mountain. I want to do this. But like realistically, in my head, I was thinking like, it's not going to happen for me. Like I'm never probably going to be able to do that again. So the fact that I have been able to do that is, it's pretty amazing, I think. And rugby also though is like finding that competitive sport and really getting that competitive spirit back and that drive.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's huge. That was so big for me. And I actually wasn't even too like I played hockey growing up. I played some sports, but I wasn't as much into team sports. I was like the skater, snowboarder, kind of solo sport guy. So it actually is really cool being a part of a team sport. And that's one thing I wish I would have done growing up more, even like, and been more of like into team sports and stuff. Because it's really cool. There's a really cool aspect to it and stuff. And those are things I definitely, when I was in rehab at Northridge, was trying to like sit up on the edge of the bed without falling backward, or like in rehab, trying just to fall, like not fall over. I was definitely not thinking, oh yeah, I'll be out skiing in a couple years and I'll be playing competitive sports and winning MVP trophies at like we're like, doing things like that. Like not a chance. I thought that.
Me neither. That's why I say I'm not a sports fan. So I would never see myself playing a sport, especially even competitive sport.
Bobby, what about for you? I mean, because you were that hardcore athlete. So it's okay.
Every time somebody's walking by, but it was, the hard thing, or not the hard thing, the easy things were the sports. And I knew, not that I knew I was going to be playing rugby as long as I did. It was some of the side stuff of like doing snow skiing again, water skiing again, playing tennis. And like one thing I did was I needed a PE class for college, so I did tennis. And I was at Moore Park like you, Sean, and
Nice.
they didn't have a wheelchair tennis team. It was I think I'm taking a tennis class with all these AB, and the teacher's like, yeah, sure, you can take my class. What's do you have any different rules? And I'm like, the ball can bounce twice for me. So and it was all double. So everyone's like, "Oh yeah, he's on my team." So if the ball goes past me, he's got it in the back. So I just sat in the back, just trying to hit the ball. So I mean, I was glad to get into all the sports that I did, and I think it's more about the career path that I took of being a peer mentor, and that it's turned into a career for me. And now we're at a great rehabilitation hospital to have that as, you know, my major income, and still giving to this day to guys like you, Sean, that, you know, still mention my name. So it's just amazing. And then now I love kind of finding a hobby that doesn't have anything to do with wheelchair anything or anybody in a chair. Anybody can do it, but I joined Toastmaster Club almost 10 years ago, and I'm still doing it today. And it's, you know, I get to go to and do public speaking and try to be creative with my speeches, even though I feel like I suck at coming up with some great speeches or being a writer. I'm definitely not a writer, but you know, it's something I like challenge myself, and I thought I would never do. But it's great that I kind of find a hobby that, you know, it has nothing to do with the disabled world, or the community, I should say.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I know you're doing the Toastmasters thing is pretty cool. That's awesome that you do that. And I know you've just recently, didn't you get a couple of like awards or won a couple things too
Yeah,
for best
I
stuff?
just pulled off a double victory in 2 different categories, so I'm moving on to the next round and hopefully make it to Worlds this year. So,
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. So what?
yeah, thank you.
Just out of curiosity, what is the world? What are like? Is
The
that
2 speeches. Well, you know, Toastmaster it's international, so your club, and then your club has a contest, and then they pick the best speaker out of your club, and then you go on to an area, then you go on to a district, then you go on to a section, and then you can go all the way to Worlds. And I don't know where it is this year. I'm sure it's going to be still on Zoom like all the other ones are right now. Usually you get to travel to a place, but I entered in 2 different speech categories. One, it's called International Speech Contest, which is a speech. It could be inspirational, it can be educational, and it's just the way it's delivered. And I did one on having kind of every time I have there's a rough year ahead of us, I kind of just have a good year out of it, and I make something out of it, kind of like what I did with my accident. It's kind of like what I did with my business, or breaking my leg really bad water skiing once. And I took, COVID year the same way. I'm like, hey, I'm going to figure this out and not be in the dumps like many people were. Luckily I still had a job, and then I got to figure out how to work from home. And then I got to experience being home more with my wife, and then discovering so many new friends from around the world. I mean, with you and I, Sean, it was like this little circle here in Southern California, which isn't so little, it's pretty big. But then all of a sudden I'm meeting people from Canada, Portugal, UK, and I talk to them now every day almost. And it's pretty awesome. And to get to work out with them, and as just before I got off the workout group and like huffing and puffing. So I wrote a speech about that. And then my second one was, it's called Tall Tales, which is kind of like a made up make-believe story. So I did one on a dream of me actually being in a wheelchair, and the gun goes off and I'm in the water, but I just have my rubber ducky, and I'm like, do with my rubber ducky. And I show this, it's back in the background, the rubber ducky.
Yeah.
So I'm just I'm like grabbed it, and then, but then there's a shark chasing me, and then I get on my bicycle, and it feels weird because it's a tricycle, and I'm on a tricycle trying to ride a tricycle. And then I get on the run, and I'm running with tap dancing shoes. But I run so fast, I finish in first place. Everybody's cheering, and I'm like, I hear Bobby, Bobby, Bobby. And then my wife's like, wake up. It's just a dream again. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's cool. So that's the other one you wrote? That's the
Yeah. Yeah.
nice, dude. That sounds pretty cool, man. That sounds awesome. I'm sure you deliver a pretty nice speech, so hopefully we get to see you one day.
Still needs a little
Officially.
practice.
Nice.
Still needs a little practice.
That's cool,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. I was actually gonna go on a little side tangent note. Just you kind of got me curious. Like, how do you guys see yourself in a dream with like, especially when you first were hurt? Did you guys dream? Because like for me personally, even now, still sometimes I'll have dreams where like I'm not in a chair, but then I go to walk and I like it's weird. Like it feels like I can't really, but it's like I don't know. Like I have just like or like I walk with like huge legs like a cartoon but I'm like swaying like I don't know, dude. So I was just wondering if anybody else does have that sort of because that reminded me of that when you were explaining, how you were going along in your dream. It's very similar to things that I dream about sometimes when I'm in my own dreams.
And when I
Ken,
was
do
in the
you have?
hospital, yeah, when I was in the hospital and I was dreaming, like right after I got injured, yeah, I was walking all sluggish, like my legs were like just Gumby legs, and but now I dream walking. I don't dream in my chair. I don't think
Really
I've ever dreamed that I was pushing my chair. It's all walking.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
I same. My chair's there somewhere, but I'm always thinking, uh, why don't I do this more often? It's so much easier. I should practice this more and stop being lazy. It's there, but it's kind of wobbly, and that's how I wrote that. That's what made me think of writing this speech and this dream, and because sometimes I do a triathlon still in my head or in my dream,
Whoops.
and it's always like, why can't my swim go the way I used to swim, and why can't my bike go, like I'm riding and there's no chain on the bicycle, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And then everyone's like, oh, don't worry about it, just go run. And I'm like wobbly, and they're like, do you want your wheelchair? And I'm like, no, I don't need my wheelchair. So it's it's what made me think of writing that speech and how I came up with it. So it's always there. Tom, he's back.
Yeah,
I
we gotta
swear I
guess.
didn't plan the whole 420 entrance.
Tom, yeah, Tom
Oh yeah,
pops in
sure.
right at 420. Perfect.
Sorry,
Nice.
you guys. I was accessing back from LA. I just got my first dose of my vaccine. And of course, access, if anybody out there is familiar with wheelchair transportation systems, they kind of go by on their own schedule, not really your schedule. So they showed up 30 minutes late to my pickup. But it's all good. I'm here. Better late than never,
Oh,
right?
cool. Tom, I'm going to turn on my tracker. Yep, I got you. You're at home. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know, Bobby. You're pretty tricky. What are we talking about, guys? Don't let me interrupt the conversation.
Well,
we were talking about actually just about dreams right now. We were wondering, we kind of went on a little side note here. Wondering, do you dream? Are you in the chair, Tom? Because you were pretty young, so I'm wondering about you.
I don't. I'm a pretty vivid dreamer. Unfortunately, it's a bad thing that happens to me. Like when I stress out about stuff, like I dream about it. Like I'll have these like crazy, like not awesome, like stressful dreams. Like if I have a test, I'll dream that I got an F on it, or that like I woke up and like missed the test or something. It's not a great thing. But I do not dream walking. I was dreaming the chair. But I don't have limitations, meaning like if there's like a barrier, like steps in the dream or something, I can make it past it somehow. Like I'll just be there. I'll just be like beyond it. But I've always been in the chair.
Yeah, since that's because you were hurt so young. I guess it kind of like makes more sense that you don't have as many memories of walking as like
It's like pretty weird. I've had people ask me. I don't really remember what it's like to walk. Period. I have some memories before my injury, but if like it's hard for like me to recall like that feeling of what it was like to like be running or like be jumping or moving, because I was just in like I think I was in preschool. So I don't really like whatever that sensation is. Like I don't have anything to recall on much of. But I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it. It might, but in any case.
Yeah, for
What's
sure,
up,
man.
Ken? Nice to meet you,
Well,
man. Sorry
nice
Yeah.
I'm
meeting you too.
coming in kind of
Look,
late.
I feel like I know you. I've watched so many of these
Oh,
Live
awesome.
the Bold videos. So yeah,
Heck yeah, man. We'll have to hang out and chat for a little while after.
there you go.
Thanks for being a viewer, though, dude. We appreciate it. And
Yeah,
thanks for being on the show today. You're the main guest.
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah, we
it.
got a lot of experience, quad experience here, because Ken's also 20 plus years. I'm the
26.
newbie again with only 17, so I'm the only one not over
Hey,
20-year experience, man. But yeah, no, dude. So Tom, if you want, we've gone over a few things like some of the adaptive equipment we use to help. What were some of the bigger struggles of getting back? Well, you were hurt really young, so I mean, not I guess getting back to life. You just kind of get into life.
yeah, I mean, I feel like life is a quad life is a bit of an ongoing struggle. I kind of feel like when I moved out, it was kind of like resetting, like starting at zero again, just because there was so much stuff that I had like taken for granted, like my family would do for me, or like whoever was around. Just little stuff like picking things up off the ground was like something I didn't think too much about before I moved out, and then it was a very glaring wake up call the first time like I dropped something and nobody was around. How do I do this? How do I get this? So developing like skills, like pick things up off the ground, like grabber skills was like a big one for me. I'm kind of always adapting like fine motor stuff, just to meet accommodate whatever my interests are. Like these darn video game systems keep coming out with new controllers and stuff. So I'm always trying to, like learn or adapt or change. I am a programmer, like I'm on the computer all the time. So I feel like typing and like doing a lot of that fine motor stuff is giving me like good dexterity or at least like good instincts to like use my hands, pretty adequately. So I don't really use any adaptive or assistive tools to assist me like fine motor wise, other than just like stuff that I like is laying around. Like I use pencils and things like that all the time that push stuff or grab stuff or whatever it is. I flail around a lot. Like my hands just kind of like flop them. It's funny. Like in my fridge, you can see it like right over my shoulder right here. All my water bottles are on the top shelf. And even if I elevate, I don't have the strength or dexterity to like reach and grab one and pull it out. So my method is to just hit it out of there, right? Just literally knock it down and it falls. And then hopefully like I can catch it. And I swear, like I tell everybody that sees it, like 9 out of 10, I can do it. And that like 10th water bottle, I can let it go. But I don't know, it's just kind of a lot of adapting, improvising, and problem solving. But it hasn't really ever stopped. It really got intense though when I moved out and lived in my care, just because, I challenged myself. My biggest challenge lately has been tackling how to handle like dressing and like my bowel care on my own. And that's been a real learning curve. Um, what I've kind of learned from that process is just like always set myself up now. I would like just rely on caregivers or people or like supplies being around. Before, I've like kept most of my stuff in the bathroom, but now like I have a box that I keep on my bed because I have to. Like it, but I just set myself up for success. I get everything I need so that like if I have an issue or if I have a problem or if I need to take care of something, like it's just all in one central location. I got everything I need. So preparation, I think, is a big thing. Getting out and about, getting like back to life. I think that was like a huge stepping stone for me. It's like I just need to like prepare myself. I would kill myself for these like what ifs, like the what if game. Like what if this happens? What if I have an accident? What if my chair dies? What if it's inaccessible. Like what, you know? And I had to learn to shut that part of my brain off. And
Yeah,
then
you can't.
I would set myself up if I'm out and about and I'm gonna be gone overnight or something. Like I got an extra change of clothes. I got everything that I need to like take care of myself and handle the situation if I needed to. And I'll tell you what, like 99% of the time, you set yourself up, for the inevitable. The inevitable never happens. It's only that one time you forget your stuff or you're like, oh, I'm gonna be okay. Then you have an issue, right? But my point is like set yourself up for success, meaning like accommodate your environment. My bed has like a touch lamp behind my head that like I can just touch to shut off. I like have little things like that make like lights easier. I try to utilize technology to the fullest. I have a app on my phone. It's like a mobile mouse. So my laptop's connected to my TV, and then I can use the mouse on my iPhone to control my TV and my computer from bed, like just chilling. And like that is my favorite like little tool and feature. And it's just super useful if I don't want to grab my laptop or like go through a process like get set up on my lap or whatever. I can just do something real quick on my phone. Just cool technology. Always keep an eye out for new stuff too to make my life easier.
Nice.
So those are the big ones.
The assistive technology, we actually didn't do. I forgot to mention that too. But yeah, like having I don't even want to say Alexa because it's gonna start listening. But like having one of the smart controllers in your room. I have a bunch of smart plugs now all over my room and stuff. So from bed, I can tell my light. I can tell my light to turn on. I can tell the heater to turn on or off. I have an air filter, which is like kind of like a fan that works for so I have basically everything that I can either do from my phone or just tell the speaker to do it for me. And like that is definitely a huge quad thing for.
They're making some tools now. Grabbers have not been the best technology in the past that like I've really struggled with using. I recently got this brand. It's called Kekoy, Kekoy. I don't know if you can see the brand, but it's got this cool little hook and magnet on it. It's got like really great like grip and grabbing strength, and I don't know. Like people always ask like as a quad, like how do you use that? Like I like kind of cheat. I can get stuff off the ground by like using both hands, kind of like just squeezing it together, and then lifting it up is kind of the issue. Getting it up, right? I just picked up my backpack out of the hallway like right before I got on because I dropped it trying to come inside, like rushing in to get on the podcast. And it was like easily like a 4 or 5 pound backpack. I have pretty good quad strength, not like trying to toot my own horn, but I just worked for it. So I could pick up my backpack with like 2 arms like that, pretty easy. But for little stuff, I kind of just squeeze with my elbow with one hand and like little things, caps, pencils, like my phone or whatever. I can like just lean over and squeeze it with my arm like that. It looks kind of funny, but it's like the easiest technique I've found. Really good, best advice I can give is get yourself a good grabber. Like it's like $25 on Amazon, but it's worth the extra $10 or $15 because it just is functional. It folds. It has a little magnet right on it too. I don't know if you can see, but that magnet saves the day. And the other like must-have quad tool is a lanyard for your phone. You can pick up your phone. They're not very easy to pick up with a grabber or otherwise. But if you have a lanyard and something like this, it's just less than a minute to scoop it up, pick it up, and be on your way.
Yeah,
right, definitely.
Loops and lanyards are the best thing for any kind of ring lanyard opening. You can stick your hand in.
Yeah, all my bags have rings on like the zipper, just so I can hook my thumb. Are we getting a little choppy?
Oh, we're good.
The other best quad tool you have, but you got to be super careful with, is your mouth.
We've talked about that.
Yeah. But like I've chipped a couple teeth, like a little bit. you gotta be really careful with like the metal stuff and just getting too used to like, oh, I'm gonna just use my mouth. At least I've had to train myself too. I still do it far too much, but I try to use other tools. I found though, like, how do you open a jar, like without super quad strength, right? You gotta get creative. So what I do to just like break that seal is I'll take a can opener and I'll just get on the lip and I'll lift it up enough to hear that pop, and like the little pop, and then it's like loosened enough to twist off pretty easy, and I can like leverage and squeeze my hand on it and get enough friction to twist it. So like I can open up salsa and stuff like that. It's just like get creative, use little tools.
So, so I've done the same thing for little jars and stuff. Like even pill containers, like the medicine containers, like you have to squeeze and push. So if I use a little piece of cloth, sometimes I have to lick my hands to get the stickiness on the plastic. But I can usually squeeze hard enough to where I can push and get it to pop. And then what I was gonna say for jars, I actually have in my room this like silicone mat. It's like one of those like almost like cooking silicones. It's kind of a sticky, like you can smokers use them because they don't stick, like wax doesn't stick to them like weed. Like it's like it's a dab thing. Like it came out with
what is the quad tape though they sell at the Abilities Expo?
Cat tongue. So that's similar. So basically I use it like that. Like so I use the silicone as a gripper and I push. It's on my desk and then I will push both hands on the lid, push down really hard, and the bottom grips good enough on that silicone that the lid usually I can get to spin while the jar stays stuck to that bottom. But yeah, the cat tongue tape is another perfect. That stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
Like on
And
everything.
Amazon there's something I bought where you can just put the jar right into a little slip and then it will grip the jar and then you can just turn it,
I actually have one of those too.
Yeah, and I just didn't put mine at a good height, but the advantage of being married does help. And one thing I can that living on my own before I got married, the one thing I would do is just literally plan my week. And so Monday morning I'd wake up and I'd have someone come in and help me with all this stuff. So I'm like, open up this bottle of wine, open up that jar. Can you help me grab this and fold that because it was something a little bit too hard? Or can you help me put away this? And like, I would just put out a punch list and she would just be like, okay, what's next? What's next? And we would just, and it was just being, having somebody just fly through the week and have everything ready. And it's a lot of planning and a lot of, looking around. Like I'd roll around my house and go, I need that done, and I need that done, and I need that done, and and now living, where I have my own home, a lot of things break, and I'm staring at a plug that I know how to fix because my dad was an electrician and taught me how to change it out. I'm like, oh my gosh, So I found a great guy who comes over and is my handyman. So, and a lot of times I'm giving him 20. He's like, oh, stop. But then sometimes he's calling me. He's like, hey, I need 20 for gas. I'm like, if you come on over, so kind of made a deal and you try to find people that are reliable. And, I always have that saying, you treat somebody that you want the way you want to be treated and they're going to, carry that to you as well.
So that, like Bobby just said it, really for like me, the only way independence was achievable was to just like super plan with my caregivers, and I just established a routine of like stuff that they would do, and like part of it included like meal prep, like would always like have my Tupperwares that I could access easy, and like I had my microwave that I could like do myself, or my toaster oven that I could do myself, and but like everything was set up, all the food was like cooked and prepared and like in the dishes, and it was all good to go. Like everything, like just make sure like things are just set down. Like you have enough towels or like access to your stuff, whatever it is. And like Bobby said, like make a list. And it's not always going to be a list because once you fall into a routine with your caregivers or whoever's helping, like kind of set your environment up for you, they'll learn, and like you'll figure it all out. It'll all be pretty routine. But it's super important to just plan ahead.
I was gonna say another just quick note. Just using caregivers doesn't mean you're not independent. Like sometimes you can use caregivers to be independent. Like as long as you just line it up, plan your help out, plan everything you need to do and stuff. Like you can actually get more independence because they can help you along with things and just using
And
them right.
like I have care like almost every day. Um, I usually have two caregivers. Like I've been limiting my morning care, but I have an evening caregiver too that will like come for an hour, and that's only like now like 3 or 4 days a week, and then my morning people are 3 or 4 days a week. But I pretty much have at least one person every day, and I just for me, it's pretty scaled back. Like it's only an hour or two, but without that hour or two, I'm a fish out of water. Like I am like totally lost and on my own, and it's like really tough. Like I'm proud of my independence, and like I like to kind of brag about it, but it is nothing without like daily care that I still receive for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna just Brianna asked me about if I can smoke. And yes, I can smoke on my own, Brianna. I figured out. I think all of us that do have figured out how to do lighters and how to figure out how to smoke independently. That was definitely one of the first things I figured out because it wasn't something I wanted to ask my dad or somebody for. It was something.
I
Um,
always used to. I like to tell this story because I'm a Zippo collector, but I always used to steal my dad's Bic, and it was super hard for me to. And I was just like a little pyro trying to play with his lighter. But he got me a Zippo lighter because it's just you spark it, like you just have to be able to strike the flint, and there's no button or anything to hold down, which is like kind of the hindrance for me at the time. So Zippos can be fun if you're a quad, you still like lighters, still want a lighter. Just fair warning, they can be dangerous. They're windproof. If you drop them, they don't go out. That can be bad on your lap or the floor. So
yeah.
be mindful. And if like smoking is still something you want to try, but lighters and like all the paraphernalia isn't your thing, technology is on our side. There's lots of electron vaporizers that are a lot healthier for you and can provide. I mean, it's literally like once it's set up, you just hit a button, and there's no lighting or anything. It's just you move the thing to your mouth and breathe in.
Yeah.
They can be super assistive to people with these quad paws or anybody struggling with like the fine motor or the upper body function. Um, so yeah,
Awesome, man. Yeah.
how do you do it? How do you do it, Ken?
I'm
Yeah,
looking for
Ken.
my lighter. I got one somewhere in here.
We always like to have the new quad show off their lighter skills.
Yeah, I got one. I got one somewhere in here.
And I always like to say this is kind of like I found out with like the lighter and stuff. Once you set your mind to something and like really trying to figure out how to do it, I'll tell you what, I don't care who you are, like you will figure out a way to do it. It's like, play with it, figure it out. Like I used to like not be able to light a big lighter, but now it's like nothing. But that's just because I played with it and like I had a mind to like learn and try to figure out how to do it.
It's
Um,
probably one of the
Oh, Ken's
easiest.
got a torch.
It's probably one of the easiest ones. It's got a button on it, but I do have a Bic that's fairly simple too.
Oh yeah,
And
you just got
and
this.
there you go. You just hit the button.
yeah, those are simple, but the Bics are pretty simple too. I put it between my glove right here and use my thumb. I think Sean does the same thing, right?
Similar. I put it in like the webbing of my hand and then use the like part of my
Oh
heel of
yeah,
my
I do that too sometimes. Yeah,
yeah.
wearing
Um,
gloves. I don't know why a lot of quads don't wear gloves, but gloves,
yeah.
man, they help me so much with like opening things or just keeping my hands from getting so dirty and calloused. Yeah,
Yeah, and you said you use them for utensils and stuff, so that's cool. I mean,
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
definitely
Put the knife in
figured
there or
out how to
whatever.
use them. All right, so we're kind of getting, at the end here now. So let's just close it out, and maybe if we all have a little piece of advice for newer injured people or just people that might be struggling with just kind of getting back to life or finding independence or anything like that. I would just say my little tidbit is just the baby steps thing. Really just don't overwhelm yourself. That's where you'll get screwed because it's mentally really hard to just think like, oh, I need to get there. So like you need to like yeah, that's your end goal, but you need to set very small little goals to get there. So that's
Yeah.
definitely my best advice.
Mine's
I
probably, take one day at a time. Don't look at yourself like look at Sean and go, that's where I should be, today. And just remember your disability might look similar, but it's going to be, no two are alike. So don't always wish that you were something else. Take one day at a time and practice those little things. Like, when Tom said about, lighting his big lighter, he probably practiced it 100 times. And I practice how to open a can and I practice how to, with my balance every day. I'd sit up in my bed and just practice and practice and practice. So it's the little things take time. And if you practice, keep at it and don't give up. Eventually, you're going to figure out how you're going to get something off the floor, reach something on the top of the shelf.
yeah. You
My big one is it's never really too late to like start learning something, start trying to do something you haven't done before. It was 16 years after my injury when I first did like my first independent transfer. Um, I've only I've been paralyzed for 24 years, but I've like only been living on my own for like the last 6 or 7. And the majority of my skills, like all my skills, I mean, I'm just learning to dress myself now. I've been able to undress myself forever, but like I never like took the time or the energy to learn how to get dressed. And so here I am, 24 years later, like trying to figure it out, like very seriously for the first time. And it's just never too late. It takes time. I mean, I've been working at this stuff for like, gosh, I don't know, like a year now, and like I'm just finally starting to like learn like and get to the point where I can do it and not be like dead at the end, or like do it quick enough to where I'm not like pissed off that like my morning is gone because it took me 2 hours to like get up, do my care, get dressed, and get out of bed, or 3 or 4. The curve is starting to get lessened. The more times I do it and stuff. So like it's like been a big learning curve for me. But also like I was like a little bit afraid that maybe it was too late. Like maybe I was like too old, or like I wasn't gonna be able to like learn how to do a lot of this stuff. But I got like a million more goals. Like next thing I'm gonna do is driving. Like then I'm tackling airplanes and hotels and traveling around the world, and like we'll see where the limit is, if I want to set one. But yeah, it's just never too late to figure this stuff out, start doing it,
yeah,
start
man.
taking those steps.
All right, Ken, you
You
want to
guys all
close
have
this out? You're a special
you guys have
guest.
some
You
good ones. You guys all have some good ones, but yeah, don't be hard on yourself when you can't do anything. When you
oops,
can't
let me get
figure it out, or um, uh, that's probably the hardest thing is don't be hard on yourself. Don't hate on it that you can't figure something out. Like they said, keep practicing, just keep going. Don't depression is out there, man. I don't have it, but some people do, and just try not to be depressed. Try to be happy, and reach out. Definitely reach out if you need any kind of help or any kind of advice or just someone to talk to. Yeah.
Yeah, but for sure.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid. Also for us, like we always say, oops, please go ahead and reach out to any of us. Our Instagrams are all on there in the description too, so you can click. And I'm sure Ken's fine with it too. If you guys
Yep.
are newly injured or anything, struggling with anything. And another thing I'm just gonna shout Ken out real quick because I forgot during the show at all. But Ken does a bunch of like drone photography, RC cars and stuff. Just a bunch of cool, fun stuff. Check his Instagram out for a bunch of different cool drone pictures and stuff he's doing. So
I'll post
Because
more.
he dropped it in the comments too. I did want to shout out the Hip Crips radio show,
oh
every
yeah,
Friday
I was actually
8 p.m., on the WRAQ app.
let me put
He's
it on the
awesome.
screen.
Go check out his YouTube
Yeah,
channel. Check out his radio show. Really cool content, cool stuff. And he's like big
and
supporter of the show
also
every week.
also hit that like button. Hit that like button. Get
Yeah,
Sean some
like,
followers. Let's see some
Yeah.
love.
make
So
sure
I
to
got 20
subscribe
people
to
watching.
Toronto.
Let's go.
And
Let's
yeah,
do that.
share it. Share the videos if you guys know anybody, think anybody might benefit or be interested. We appreciate it all. You guys are the best, the coolest audience around. Thanks for joining us every week.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. And tune in next Tuesday for another live show. Next Thursday for Brianna's women's show. And this Thursday, at the time when Brianna would be on at 3 o'clock, I'm actually going to do a live studio tour. So if you guys want to check out this little studio space, I'm going to just hang out live with people. Maybe I'll have a couple people join me. I'm not sure right now. I just sort of just want to do something to get on that same time slot as Brianna's show, and just while she's off this week, and just to share my studio, so I can give everybody, check it out, let everybody see. So
That'd be great.
all right, everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Live to roll, like, subscribe, everything.
Thanks, everybody.